Welcome to welcome to Federal Democratic Movement and FDM Party leadership. President Joshua Kony-Matanga, 2021 presidential candidate. According to FDM manifesto and the strategic plan, we as FDM have come up with 40 state companies that are going to enable to give our youth 2.5 million jobs once we form government this year. If the Zambian citizens themselves, they feel that they can entrust us to run the affairs of the country. It will also earn foreign income for the country because Zambia will have a high foreign earning as we are going to export through the new companies that we are going to have. And this is the only way how we can fix and also provide an alternative to the economic recovery and reforms. Now, because of such policies that are going to bring in correction to the error done in the privatization during the MND, we as federal government are also a Christian movement that understands the covenant that Zambia is a Christian nation that requires a Christian leadership to govern a Christian nation and bring in the governance that is in line with the biblical values and principles and norms. But as FDM, Federal Democratic Movement, we still feel that once the Zambian people vote for us and vote for 7 stars, as you can see the poster has 7 stars and President Joshua Kony-Matanga as their incoming president after the 12th August, it will also give Zambia a new beginning and a new shape. We have also discovered that as FDM, we have included the 40% youth participation in our matters of governance of the country because we realize that for a number of promises, youth have been left out in the governance system of this country. And we being a youth movement, we say we are going to provide an alternative of youth participation in decision making through their submission in different provinces of the country. They will write proposals to how they feel that the country needs to be run, despite us having already a strategic plan and a manifesto that gives in a shape and a direction how Zambia needs to be run. But we need also youth individual ideologies to be included because we don't want to leave anyone behind. 40% of youth inclusion in the national matter participation of issues of development because they've got new ideas, a new breed. We are a new breed for Zambia. Actually, what Zambia needs now is not experienced political players that can give in advanced political syndrome of corruption, but Zambia needs a new breed that will remove corruption other than this, the FDM and Federal Democratic Movement of Joshua Kony-Matanga. We are going also to allow 20% of ordinary citizens, those that have been former cabinet ministers, that can still provide an alternative that's on an economic forum under corporate governance systems, that they can also give a render and advice on how we can work together and collaborate in the changing of this country. And 40%, because 40% of youth, 20% of former cabinet ministers, and of course those of former heads of states present, we're going to have 40% now of cabinet resolution once we reform the government as cabinet. Right now we have a shadow cabinet, but when we fully emerge victorious this year, then we will have formed in a cabinet, and the resolution that will be made by cabinet in the cabinet meetings also will be together with the 20% of ordinary members of former heads of cabinet ministers and former heads of states, and also 40% of youth from different areas of the country. We are going to have 100% well-governed Zambian nation with the best governance system. This is how we're going to have the best governance system in this country, because we understand that the ideas and the planning of this country are from individual ideologies and people from down there. We have a vision that we can run how we feel Zambia can be run, but we don't want to leave anyone. We don't want to be greedy, and this is the reason why I've said 40% of youth participation, 20% of former cabinet ministers to provide an alternative, and 40% are one vision that we have for the country. And we still realize that as a Federal Democratic Movement, we are going to give an will come up with a judicial governance system because we still feel that Zambia being a democratic state, we need to see a well-run judicial system that have got no interference of government, which will be called the judicial governance system, as well as a democratic governance system that will provide, meaning the political players in the opposition will not be unnecessarily face arrest, but will be taking them for cautioning to the police, and later if there is a charge, we take them to the court of law, but coming from their homes, because we want to avoid the unnecessary detention, that which also deteriorates the value and the norms of democracy in a country that Zambia being a Christian nation, and we've realized that we need to change systems of governance and systems of approach, and bring in dialogue systems. And if the political parties in the and the president in the opposition make alarming statements, we need to question them and just warn them. But we still feel that we can have this country be well governed, especially that the country is being divided on tribal lines and the political landscape on tribal interests. We need to bring these 73 tribes together and make sure that the Zambian people unite. And these are some of the measures that the Federal Democratic Movement are working on. And as FDM, we will run the country of Zambia, we will manage financial resources, will allow transparency in the systems of financial management, and also on the public funds and resources, well audited financial reports that will be done to the Office of the Auditor General's Office, and also a quick report that will be given to State House, to the President, a quick report that will also be given to Parliament, a leaf of a copy that will be given to the public, the general public, so that they can have confidence in the running of the affairs of the country, how their resources are being managed. Because once we are entrusted to run the country, we are just entrusted to run the affairs on behalf of the citizens of this country, and to ensure that their resources are well managed and well kept on their behalf, because we just entrusted to run the top job and form government. So we as FDM, we still feel that we will have a well-presented national budget with a balanced foreign incomes and the local investment earnings through the Minister of Finance, because there are times when the budget is presented, it's empty, and they're hoping that the money will be recovered through international funding and the local recovery. But we still want to see that when we present a national budget, there is money available in the national treasury. How do we achieve this? It is only when we remove the system of corruption and the system, so money will not be diverted by a few individual people that moves with cars and open booths and showing people money. No, we will remove such systems, because we feel we care for the citizens of this country, we care for the national economy, we care for the welfare of our people, we care for how this country needs to be run, and we know that the future of this nation lies in those that are governing us, and the future of the youth and those that are in this country lies on how the country is well managed, how the country is being managed. And so in our one observation as a Federal Democratic Movement, and party president Joshua Kony-Matanga still realized that we're going to put in such measures, because 60% of finances will ensure that they are available within the national treasury, and 40% of the revenue will be obtained through international funding, through our good strategic plan that we are going to present on economic growth, either by the IMF, being able to obtain the IMF packages for the growth of the economy, especially that the money will be forwarded into the development of industries, and that we can be exporting. And after we've made enough profit, we'll be able to service back the loan, as well as settle those outstanding debts that we are going to find, which are hanging in our country by those that have been governing us. So I suppose the Zambian people feel that we are reliable, because we feel we are so reliable, and we are well researched about how Zambia need to be governed. And in addition to that, we still have a recovery within Zambia in order to achieve our goal that Zambia become a middle income by 2030. This is the national goal that every Zambian is looking forward, and as FDM, we still move into this same goal to achieve that Zambia become debt-free Um, as FDM, we are going to have a national recovery fund policy that will allow those that have abused the resources of the country under this national policy on reform government will be able to recover the resources and the assets and transfer them back into the national treasury. This is under the national recovery policy, national resource financial earning policy. This is a policy that will help us as a nation to know how much money is entering the country and how much money we are losing in the expenditure. That's why we've come up with FDM, national resource financial earning policy, and also come up with FDM, national financial insurance policy, which means out of every income that comes in the country that we as FDM we will be getting 10% of that money and also forward it into Zambia National Insurance Corporation, so that we can have national financial insurance policy in case the country somehow tries to run bankruptcy. We will be able to withdraw that money to cover up the gap where we have a challenge. And these are some of the measures that we as Federal Democratic Movement still feel we need to put in place and to be put in place once the Zambian people feel that we can run this country on their behalf. National corruption on financial policy. This policy will help in national anti-corruption on financial policy. This policy will be a policy that every citizen will participate to speak on radio and say, this is what we have discovered, and that these people that have abused their money, we have wind off their belt, lodged their belt this, and under this national policy, the citizen will have the right to rise up and say, we are not happy, and they have the right to report to the anti-corruption and provide evidence. And because when such is done, then we will be able to bring this report to the task force. Will be able to bring this report to the Department of the Anti-Corruption Commission, and to quicken the fight against corruption, to run a corrupt-free economy, corrupt-free nation, Zambia. We've come up with a system of coming up with a new ministry, which will be called the Ministry of Anti-Corruption and Money Laundering. This ministry will have a minister present in Parliament who is going to be explaining and expressing how on a daily basis matters of corruption are being handled. It could be that of cabinet ministers, it could be any government official, it could be those that are surrounding the office of the president, to give in a clear indication how the country is being run, so that we don't run down the economy, we don't run down the financial economy for safety of our country, so that the people do not have hardship in our country. Because when things are mismanaged, the people will always have a hardship. The way they will trade, they will have hardship. So to avoid those such measures and an alternative, we have provided such measures as FDM and the Federal Democratic Movement with Pastor Joshua Matanga. And we've also realized that because Zambia has got so much abundance mineral resources that are not benefiting the country, in our policies we are saying all the mines that are owned by foreigners. In our manifesto, in our strategic plan, we say 60% owned by the state and 40% by foreign investment, and which is 30%. 10% will be for the money paid for the workers, and 30% will be the money they can take to their countries, and out of the total cost and the sales of the value of our minerals in our country. And this is how we are going to run our investment in our country once FDM formed government this year. And 10% we shall be given to the National Citizens Beneficiary Fund from the mines, from the Zambia Revenue Authority, and from any foreign funding. We will remove 10% of the total amount that has been channeled in our national treasury, so that the citizens can benefit and so that every Zambian is empowered. Apart from there, we also realized that the Ministry of Mines is too wide and broadened, and so we realized that will be the Ministry of Mines that will be running and managing the cost affairs of the mineral resources and the management of the mines. And we also come up with a new ministry under the Ministry of Mines, which will be called the Ministry of Mineral Research, Discovery and Development. Why? Because when we begin to now target on discovering new mineral resources under that ministry, when they wake up, they'll just be trying to see where there are new minerals, and when they discover, their part is just to discover, and when they discover, they recover. Then the Minister of Mines will come in and bring in investors to bring in development. That's why it's called Ministry of Minerals and